Many of you are practicing the Supreme Renunciation. And my job is to convince you to give it up. The Supreme Renunciation is to renounce the realization of your oneness with God. It's the most painful ascetic practice one can undertake. And you've been doing it far too long. You've proved your point. This is what the soul does. It pushes the envelope. It takes itself as far away from God consciousness as it can go to see if it can still survive. When it puts the divine light and love in total eclipse and lives entirely for its own limited purposes and nature that are separated from the whole. And when that rubber band has gone as far out as it can go, then it will snap back very quickly into that oneness. And we are in the moment of that snapback that is about to happen and is already happening on planet Earth. And it will happen for more and more of us, where we will one day decide that we have done this ascetic practice long enough. Just as the Buddha found out he had done his practice long enough. You know, he practiced for a number of years, fasting and flagellating himself and refusing any kind of pleasure or companionship. And he was skin and bones when he finally sat under that peepal tree, in Bodh Gaya, and realized none of it was necessary. And that all along, he was the very Buddha nature that he was searching for. And that Buddha nature is the Supreme Being, is the Supreme Presence, the Nirvana, that transcends the noise of the ego. Vana means noise, it means sound. It means nirvana is to go beyond the sound of your own thoughts, into the silence, the emptiness, to realize you are that emptiness. But what are you empty of? You're empty of suffering. You're empty of ego. You're empty of that renunciation, that will to renounce one's divine love, truth, beauty, empowerment. And one snaps back as Buddha did at that moment that we are still celebrating 2,500 years later. And so it's very easy to attain liberation because all you're doing is letting go of a renunciation. You're not doing anything. You're just stopping the doing of the mind's taking itself away from the light into the darkness of worry and vexation and identification. The mind's throwing itself into the future or the past. No, the moment you stop doing that, you're present. And you discover that your presence is the mystery. The mystery you are seeking is here, is the self. And that self is eternally present. It is not part of the flow of time. This is very important. The self is absolute simplicity. The self did not reincarnate. The self is not incarnated even at this moment because the self is not an object, not even a subtle object. It transcends space, time, and all categories of logic and knowing, and therefore cannot be grasped by the rational mind that wants to hold it. It's not an it. That's why in ancient India the yogis have always taught the neti doctrine. It's not this, it's not that, it's not anything you can name. But the one that's trying to grasp it is in fact it. But only when you stop the effort of grasping and open the hand of thought, the hand of possessiveness, of greed, of desire, then the love that you are seeking emerges from within. And then one needs no longer any gratifications. Desire and fear fall away. identifications, fixations fall away, and there is freedom, there's liberation, there's peace. It's available at this moment. And so in meditation, all we're doing is simply choosing to be present and receive the gifts of our being that we had renounced. Let yourself receive those gifts. That's also the meaning of Christmas, to receive the gifts of the God Self. Under the same tree, the Christmas tree is the same tree Buddha sat under, the tree of life. The evergreen with the star at the top. This tree is the tree in which the gifts of our own immortal, eternal self are given. So we can celebrate at the same time Christmas, Buddha's birthday, Enlightenment Day, Hanukkah. Every holiday is really representing the same moment of the renunciation of our enslavement to the ego and our reception of the gifts of the Eternal One.